This video will show you how to work the wrong side decreases for the Floremus hat. So I have a little sample here and we'll have a look at the wrong side of our work. Now you'll notice that some sections we have an even number of stitches, other sections have an odd number of stitches, and that means we just work them very slightly differently as we get to the end of each section. So let's begin the first section. We're going to purl 1 and work purl 2 together, purl the first stitch again, and work that again, purl 2 together, purl the first stitch again. Then we're working the decrease, so we're going to purl 3 together, if we can persuade that stitch to join its friends. There we go. Purl 3 together, purl that first stitch again, purl 3 together, purl that first stitch again. So at this point we have one stitch remaining before the stitch marker, and obviously if we're working a purl 2 together, purl the first stitch again, we need to have access to both these stitches. So what I would do is just slide that stitch across, remove the stitch marker temporarily, place that stitch back on the left hand needle. Now you can work these two stitches together. So we're going to purl them and leave them on the left hand needle. Now this purl that we've just made, or this stitch, is effectively the one that we had as part of that section. So I've still got the purl 2 together on the left hand needle, so I'm just going to pick up that stitch. And so just as we had before, that stitch marker is between a pair of stitches, and when we started this section we had 12 and now we only have 10 because we've decreased by 2 stitches. So now we continue with the next section. So we'll purl 2 together, purl the first stitch again, purl 2 together, purl the first stitch again. Then we work our decreases. I'll purl 3 together, purl the first stitch again, and you see we now have another purl 3 together, purl the first stitch again, and that takes us to the end of that section. So that one's nice and easy, we just simply slide that stitch marker across and then we can get ready for the next section. Purl 2 together, purl the first stitch again, purl 2 together, purl the first stitch again. Time for the decreases, so it's our purl 3 together, purl the first stitch again, and purl 3 together, purl the first stitch again. And so just like the first section, we've got one stitch and then the stitch marker. So I'm going to just take that stitch across, remove the stitch marker, put that stitch back on the left hand needle, work my purl 2 together, replace the stitch marker, purl that first stitch again, and slide the stitches across. And so in this section we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and before we started we had 11 stitches, so again decreased by 2, and we're maintaining our stitch counts. So we'll get to the final section. And we just want to purl that last stitch. So there we go, we've got all of our stitches and the stitch count correct, and we're ready to work the right side decreases.